Whether FBI Director Comey resigns, the question remains, did his actions affect the election results? Joining me now, Hillary Clinton's supporter, former White House counsel, special counsel in her husband's administration, Lanny Davis. Lanny, the president-elect has been tweeting on this subject. That won't surprise you. Let me put up on the screen a recent tweet of his on this subject. What are Hillary Clinton's people complaining about with respect to the FBI? Based on the information they had, she should never have been allowed to run. Guilty as hell. They were very nice to her. She lost because she campaigned in the wrong states. No enthusiasm. To Donald Trump, this is all sour grapes.
To Donald Trump, Barack Obama was not a citizen and created that myth and continued it after it was proven otherwise. And for Donald Trump to ignore the constitutional presumption of innocence, pronounce somebody guilty as hell, and lead cheers to lock her up without any indictment, trial, due process, or anything, is the words of a person who thinks like a fascist. You don't pronounce guilt without trial. And one of the reasons that I have respect for former Attorney General Mukasey, is that he recognizes that a law enforcement officer has no right, it is unethical and a violation, supreme violation, to offer an opinion on evidence. That is not James Comey's role. Donald Trump doesn't care about the Constitution and due process, but James Comey was a great prosecutor, a courageous deputy attorney general who stood for the rule of law in the hospital room with Attorney General Ashcroft, as we all know. I do not challenge motives. I challenge his extremely careless judgment. And I use extremely careless ironically, because he had no right, no role to express an opinion. He's not allowed to as a law enforcement officer. Indeed, a prosecutor is not allowed to opine on evidence before due process and a trial with everybody following the rules.
Lanny, you'd have to acknowledge Comey was damned if he did and damned if he didn't. If he had made a decision that he wasn't going to recommend charges against Secretary Clinton without saying a word, people would have questioned his motives. Then he stands up and he offers an explanation and he uses the verbiage extreme carelessness, and everybody gets on him for that, too. I mean, there was no way that he could play this. I want to show you something else, though.
Well, you've got to let me fundamentally disagree with that, Michael, but go ahead.
Quickly, though, because I got ground to cover. Quickly.
All right, quickly. There was no rock and hard place. Following ethics has nothing to do with political considerations. He acted unethically and improperly, not only when he opined on extremely careless, he has no right to do that, but he had no obligation to write a letter, and you left this out in your characterization of the October 27th letter, in which he said, I know nothing about the evidence. He did not have to write that letter. There was no pressure to write a letter where he knew nothing. He could have waited 10 days out until he had something. It turns out 4 days before the election, he said, I have nothing. So there was no difficulty in his resisting political pressure. That's not his job.
Congressman John Lewis is questioning the legitimacy of the Trump presidency already. Donald Trump, never one to let a slight pass without response, has tweeted this morning. Put it up on the screen. Let me read that aloud so that Lanny and everybody else can see it. Congressman John Lewis should spend more time on fixing and helping his district, which is in horrible shape and falling apart, not to mention crime-infested, rather than falsely complaining about the election results. All talk, no action or results. Sad. Donald Trump not getting the honeymoon to which presidents-elect are usually accustomed.
Not getting a honeymoon. Donald Trump inviting disrespect to the office of the presidency by attacking a legendary and iconic hero of Selma, who whites and blacks remember and still to this day is a legend in the civil rights movement. He has a right to say illegitimacy when we now know that the intelligence community says the hacking weighed in favor of Donald Trump. Whether that caused his opponent Hillary Clinton to lose is impossible to prove, but 0.5% change in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, certainly there's a strong case to be made that the October 27th Comey letter and the Russian hacking caused 0.5% change in those 3 states. I can at least say there's a strong inference the same way if you go to bed at night and there's no snow on the ground, and you wake up in the morning and there's snow on the ground. Can I prove that it snowed? No, but the strong inference is that Hillary Clinton would have been president but for James Comey's October 27th letter and but for Vladimir Putin.
And I would simply add that I agree with the part where you said we'll never know definitively because there were so many other intangibles. It's hard to say that she lost just because of this. Lanny Davis, thank you as always. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael.